So let's now have a look at how we add this to Android. And I'm going to start with the standard steps you always have to do for any library that accesses native device features. First of all, copy these two green lines. And you will always find these instructions for any library you install. Go into the Android folder and there to the settings.gradle file. Simply add them somewhere below the content that's already in there. Make sure to remove that plus here. Now, this of course is the code specific for this library, but whichever library you use in the end, here it's always the library name. So is the case here. And all the other code is the same. You then also just have a path to the library and there to the Android folder. So these are the things you need to exchange, and for pretty much all libraries you're using, you'll find the exact instructions in the documentation. I just want you to understand what's happening here. With that, we're basically making Android aware of the Android specific code of that library we're using. We're not done yet though. We also need to add some code to our build Gradle file in the app subfolder. So Android app build Gradle. Don't put it into the build Gradle file you have directly in the Android folder. That's a common mistake. Take the one in the app folder. And there, simply scroll down until you reach dependencies. There you will find React Native. And now you add this line where you also add compile project with your library name. Now on to the last step. You have to add an import to your main application.java file. You can find it in Android app source Java, and there's the main application.java file. And in there, simply add the import below the other imports. And then you need to add one entry to a function we find here, protected lists get packages. Simply add a comma after new main React package and add this one. And if you add more libraries, simply add commas and add them after and after. And that's it. These are the standard steps for connecting a native feature-dependent library to Android. Now for this library, we also need to do something to copy over the fonts, just as we did with iOS. We could do this manually here, copy fonts into Android app source main assets fonts, or use this approach to basically copy it automatically. Now, since it's recommended, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to copy this line of code. And again, this is just specific to this library now, not a standard step you always have to do. It's just for this library because we need the fonts. So there we also go to Android app build Gradle. So the build Gradle in the app folder, not the one on the root folder. And there we add this line somewhere in there. So simply add it at the bottom. This, however, is only used if you want to copy all fonts. If you just want some of them, copy the next code snippet instead and use that instead of the code we just pasted in. And there I'm just going to copy my Ionicons and no other fonts. I'm going to remove that. And here this line is still needed. So with that, we got this all set up. And the next time you build your Android app with npm run Android, it should copy over all these fonts and enable this application, this library. So let's close all these folders and let's see if that works by simply trying to use the library and add an icon to our app.